All right. So this is the current prototype of Sputnik. Do you have a picture? And we have the nice slide with it too. So these two antennas are 11N, and inside this has a nice little Linux computer running a Marvell chip. It has SD card, has network going out, and then we have a Wi-Spy embedded inside it. This is a Wi-Spy DBX. And so you can just plug this into your network, and then you have DBX, and you have 11N radio too if you were doing any packet stuff or anything else. And so we're working on getting this thing sort of finalized and productized, and then you can basically place this on your campus or remote offices or anything like that. Yeah.
It's my pet. What about 4G backhaul so that you don't have to send it over the Ethernet? You don't have to find
like the Pony Express.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pony Express is based off of the Guru plug, which was the version before this. Right. The nice thing is there's like 3 USB ports in here, and so it wouldn't be that hard to do a USB 4G adapter.
Absolutely.
Which went with your idea last year, right? You wanted a box you could just ship out somewhere.
Yep.
They don't need to connect it. It just sends all the data back.
Yep.
So our first version may not have that, but there are 3 or 4 USB ports in here that we can make that available. So I think it'd be awesome.
Does that have the recording capability at all? Or is that just remote?
Yeah. So the original Dream plug before they hacked it for us had 2 SD cards. And I think that this one got pulled out for some reason. Okay. But we need that, because if you have SD card slot, you can put an 8 gig SD card in there and store whatever you want, send it back every night, that kind of thing.
Or it has USB, maybe you could use one of those for like a...
Yeah.
Just tell them...
But the plan, if you just had like 8 gig SD card in there, you'd just be storing everything.
How will that be powered?
Oh, this one has PoE, or there's a power adapter.
Nice.
The typical Dream plug didn't have PoE, so that was a custom thing they did for us as well to get PoE in here. That's why it's taking a while to actually get to market, because we need PoE, we need 11N. The default one only had BG. And so this one has an 11N radio.
What kind of 11N radio?
Do you know?
Huh?
Do you know?
What kind? No.
I don't know. I can't remember.
You'll be able to manage that over the network?
Yeah, should be able to. Yep.
As long as you have holes open.
Yeah, for right now. So we're going to do some demos with the Sputnik. Do you have it?
What's the price point?
Are we ready? We don't know yet.
Well, good answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want the Firebox?
Not yet. Right now, I am so. Here is our. We have kind of a directory structure of Sputnik devices. So right now we're looking at a location in Boise, Idaho. So you type in. So when you do that, you type in new, and you can enter the name, and you can enter a location, and then an IP address. And that hopefully that's what it will look like when we are ready to go. You just have some sort of simple entry form, and then Channelizer will remember all of the pieces. Yes.
How about an exportable like CSV list you can import it to other?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. And that's about all it is. Pretty basic.
Are you all concerned about security or some sort of a hash key authentication type of, plug in this key to make sure that people aren't
Always
going where they need to be going?
Yeah. And I think at some point you need to do a little bit more on sort of the SIP connectivity, or kind of like Skype, whatever does, to be able to punch through and get to it from both sides. Yeah. So then there'd have to be a little cloud piece that's kind of controlling.
Yeah.
Because then you could log into your account. It would say, here's your list of devices wherever they're at.
It's outbound connections, you tie them together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. And that piece, we're still working on that piece.
Firewall, NAT.
So.
Some other backhaul.
Yeah, go for it. So yeah, we probably want to just
okay.
pass around.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
There you go.
All right.
There it is.
Okay, this is the Toshiba Thrive. It is. Oh yeah, we're gonna have a Firebox.
What is that?
Do I need to be worried?
It's the Pirate Box.
I hear a hum.
Yeah, it hums. It hums loud. So inside the Pirate Box, besides having some other stuff, we actually have an original, the Guru plug version with the Wi-Spy in there. So that's running a Sputnik in there.
With an inverter, which is what's doing the humming. So.
What iPad is this?
Oh, flash.
We've also been working on an iPad viewer. The USB connector through the dock is kind of complicating everything, but we can at least do the viewer, and so that guy's running. Is he not running?
Well, maybe. Now. Let me make sure.
Okay.
I didn't see his SSID, so I needed to reset him.
Okay, I'm just gonna switch demos. It's all good. Thanks. Okay. Android tablet. This is running Honeycomb, and it has a full-size USB port. So we're like, oh come on! I mean, if you're gonna make a tablet with a full-size USB port, we better do something with it. Because up until this one, they were all just like micro USB and things like that. So what we have here, we can just plug in the Wi-Fi. Basically connect USB, and then we have typical density view.
Nice. Very nice.
So
I just found a use case for an Android tablet.
yeah. I mean, I love my iPad, but this is pretty cool.
You fixed my back.
Yeah.
So I think I'll just. Oh, do you want pictures? Okay, I was just pass it along. So we have the typical density view, and it has the waterfall view. They're still working on this, so the waterfall view doesn't start until you switch to it. So it'll be a second for the data start showing up. So this is still sort of like in prototype, but we're planning. I think late Q1 we're gonna hit it really hard and get it done. So go back to density. And I'll pass this around. You guys can play with it.
So, while you're doing Android development, are you guys working in tandem with just a full-blown mainstream Linux release version of your application? And of course,
No, we're
that
not.
conversation bleeds into Mac.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Who would buy it?
Well, I was just wondering really about how the lines get blurred once you start doing Android and Linux development and then development on the Mac front, or on OS X.
Yeah. So we played around with a lot of Mono stuff. So Mono allows, all of our apps are done in C# on Windows, and Mono allows you to run the C# apps on other things. So our iPad demo that we're going to give is actually written in Mono Touch, and it's all C# compiled down to native. We tried to do that with some Mac stuff, and the Mac part of Mono doesn't work as well. And when you run Mono on Linux, you have to use GTK#, and it looks ugly. And there just doesn't seem to be a lot of users out there on Linux, and so it hasn't been a big market for us. As you know, most of our stuff is Windows right now, and we're just barely starting to really push into the Mac side. Insider for Mac is going to be our first. Well, we have Challenger for Mac, but it's pretty basic. And we do Insider for Mac, and then we kind of look and see how the market accepts that, and whether we can push more into Mac or not. We have a small team, so devoting 3 or 4 people to Mac, I mean, you just took half your software guys to do that. Sure. But as you can see, I mean, you guys, how many people don't have Macs here?
I think 3.
3? Yeah.
We're trying to convert Jennifer.
Yeah, and that's actually
Convert Jennifer. You will come to the dark side.
that I think is as many people in our office that have PCs. We all have 15-inch MacBook Pros or 27-inch iMacs running VMware Fusion.
In all fairness, I do have to use a Lenovo for survey work.
Okay.
Thank you. But
Thank you.
this is what I want to use.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what we all are too.
I mean, from the engineers that I know work for our company, I mean, the majority of the engineers want to have Macs. I would say it's about a 50-50 split between Macs and PCs at the moment.
Okay. That's good data, because that's what we need to take back and say, yeah, there is a market. Let's do it. So.
But my Mac only has.
So back to your question, Sam.
This on it.
No, okay.
Probably not on Linux. We'll start with Android, Mac, and we'll go from there. Okay, are we up?
We're up.
Okay.
What I'm looking at right now, so the Sputnik it's actually capable. We went to our engineers. I tried building one of those pirate boxes, but we got the wrong hardware. So the engineers were like, oh, let's just make one of these Sputniks. into a pirate box. And so the Sputnik itself is actually broadcasting an SSID. It's also serving Wi-Fi data. So I have logged into the wireless network that's called MetaGeek Pirate, and it's serving me all of the Wi-Fi data. And that's, I mean, it's kind of a cool thing. We were pretty excited about it. And anything else you want to add?
Well, I'm not getting it on here.
You just pull it from the IP of the router then with the USB. The
Yep.
Sputnik itself.
Yep. So you log in and you just type in you can't see it.
No, it's just 1.180.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not
Maybe I'm using it. Sorry. I am using
You
it.
have lock. Yeah, you got soup.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna try this from the iPad.
Oh. Oh, this is something Ryan wanted to show you. This. The blanket's back?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
Okay. So Ryan thought this was pretty cool. One of our developers.
Oh yeah.
All of the developers get 20% time to hack on whatever they want, and he calls this the poor man's 3D view.
That's awesome.
So as things come on, it'll kind of show that, and that was kind of a fun thing. He has this working in a web browser, so you can kind of see like a history and a current trace.
Looks like this
Um,
way.
You guys
Yeah.
did that early on when you with one of your first releases, didn't you? You had like a 3D.
We had 3D. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I think the Mac version's got it.
Yeah, the Mac version was 3D in it.
Yep.
Windows was a pain with DirectX, and the C# wrappers for DirectX at the time were really bad. Now things are a lot better, but it was like so many different machines, and it would crash on this one, whereas on the Mac it's like, it works.
It just works.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
works.
Pretty cool though.
So yeah, he actually got the idea off of a video game, and he's like trying to explain it to me, and I'm like, what? And he's like, I'll just code it up. And the next day he had this thing running. And
Yeah.
so basically what it does, it takes your current trace, and then every time it shifts at 7 pixels and draws the next one.
Yeah.
And so that's all it does. It's really quick and dirty. There's no, let's look at your angles and your perspective
Like a
ratios.
waterfall view from 3D.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like a 3D waterfall view.
And it's really cool with those. If you ever go into those, like a cubicle environment, and someone has those Logitech wireless headphones with a USB plug-in, those have like 2 channels, and they just change randomly. They'll just be like deep, 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 and it's really fun to see that in the kind of the 3D view because it changes, and you can see the history of it changing really easily. It's great.
Yeah. Okay. For the last 5 years, MetaGeek has done spectrum analysis. We do spectrum analysis. We visualize data, all spectrum analysis, and the problem is our tools are really great at telling you yes or no, there is a layer 1 problem. And so a lot of people, that's what these are for. It's like, is layer 1 no? Okay, I'm gonna go look at other stuff. But the tools to do the other stuff sometimes are really complicated and confusing to our customers, and so they're like, come on guys, like why don't you guys get into looking at layer 2? And for a long time we're like, we don't want to show just raw packets. That's not what we do. That's boring. So we started noodling around, and actually our high school intern, who is now a freshman in college, started doing some packet capture stuff, and just typical stuff. We were drawing a couple bar charts with it, but a lot of this stuff started with his project and his 20% time. So this came from our high school intern's sort of spare time, and has evolved from there. Then I was looking at the data he was getting from the different packets, and we're like, well, how do we visually show the packets? And so this was early October of last year. Started noodling. I don't know if you guys have played with, on Mac, there's a tool called Daisy Disk, and it basically shows you your disk.
Foskett loves that tool.
It's amazing, right? So Brian Tuttle, who runs our R&D, and I were kind of noodling over how do we show packets, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, have you looked at Daisy Disk? And we're like, okay, that's brilliant. And we sort of started going off that concept. And so this is it's technically called a multi-layer pie chart, but it's also called a tree pie. And the first time I read tree pie, I thought it said treepy, and so internally we just call this a treepy.
They have been treepies this entire time. It's a bit like we try and like, okay, tree pie. It's treepies to us, so
So this is more of a treepy version with different channels, and we're trying to show the data from the different access points and everything. And then this was a version that we're fiddling around with. This is called a Nightingale chart. It was actually invented by Florence Nightingale, and the first one was showing the mortality rates by month. It was split into 12 slices, and it was the mortality rate on the Eastern Front in World War I by month or something. It was really interesting. So we started noodling around with different ways to visualize the data, and actually brought some of these. In your bag? They're in my bag. Just a second. I thought they were kind of interesting, like our first sort of, concept drawings of how we would do some packet analysis.
The napkins that PGP was written on.
Yeah. And so in these drawings, we're using yellow to green to kind of show data rate, and then over here, I think the red, blue, and orange were management data and control packets. And so we're trying to show different things. So that was early October. We put a couple guys on it, and today we're going to unveil our new product. And it's called IPA for Packet Analyzer. Internally, it was called EMU, but all of our code names pretty much are beer names, and we needed a beer name that went with Nightingale and tree pie. So tree pies are actually bird, the cousin of magpies. And so we need a bird beer name, and EMU worked. But we couldn't use EMU for a product name. There's just too many EMU things. So it looks like an I. It's a packet analyzer. And it's a beer. So with that, we of course needed to bring you beer. Yeah. And so we brought you. Oh. Well, wait. We brought you Idaho's best IPA. Awesome. Except that I think they're geographically challenged, and they just rebranded it to American Pale Ale.
So it was a little bit of a name fail, but the taste is still the same. It's a sweet grass IPA, and I just need to pass these. If you want to help pass these around.
And if you actually want to drink it now, we have lunch is coming.
There you go.
Barley sandwich.
Oh, you keep one. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, if you haven't gotten me your lunch order, get it now because I'm going to go.
Do you guys need a bottle opener?
It's burgers.
Burgers out.
Burgers out.
What is Steven's
okay.
thing?
Steven?
Oh, thank you.
Please.
Thank you.
APA, you have an APA. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like, what do you do?
Thanks, sir.
Well,
Idaho isn't that small.
Steven, it's like freedom fries.
Yeah.
So we work 60 hours a week.
Okay, Trent, you ready?
Oh, you got one? Okay. Who? Matt?
I gotta drive. But sometimes,
I'll drink Matt.
All right.
To bread or down
Got one?
or
Yeah.
designated or whatever, but this is cool stuff.
Yeah.
So I did this capture right before you guys got here. So this is just a PCAP file that I made with an Air PCAP in Wireshark. The nice thing about Air PCAP is a lot of your APs are going to export a PCAP file. You can create them on your Mac. You can create them on Linux. You can create them on Windows with an So it just needs the PPI and the radio tap. Oh, and or radio tap. Not and. Sorry, or. I think it's usually or.
So let me just kind of show you what we have really quick. This inner ring are the access points. The next string are the clients connect those access points. And then this is the frame type, and this is the subframe type. So as you go out, it gets more and more detailed. This one is by bytes, and so the bigger the slice, the more bytes that were sent. So the size of your arc or your wedge is basically just what percentage of all the bytes were yours. And then this one is by time. So what percentage of the airtime?
I switched it. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. What
So
percentage of the time were you taking? And then this one is by packets. And we have a little color legend over here. But there's a lot of color, and all the colors mean different things. And so we've spent a lot of time tweaking the colors to get it good. The greens go from dark, meaning low data rate, up to a bright green for high data rates. And so visually you can tell this client right here is probably going the fastest out of everybody. And the data rate for the access points is an average of all the clients. Oh, and then trying to show this is our flashlight on hover, and then we have a tooltip that shows you all the details for that piece. Blues are data, purples are control.
Management.
Purples are management, and orange is control. Yep, okay. We changed some stuff a couple days ago on that one. And then as you get to the subframe types, there's a whole list of oranges, and so we've tried to put, like PS poll packets are really light orange, and then a lot of the typical packets you would see are dark orange. On the blues, QoS data is really light blue, and the normal data that doesn't have QoS is dark blue. And so we tried to kind of lump things together so visually it makes sense. So as you can see here, there's a lot of QoS data. This one access point is taking up most of the packets, of the bytes, and it's mostly all this one client sending a bunch of QoS data. And then, do you want to just click in there, Trent, and drill down?
Sure.
So you can drill in, and then the table over here is showing you all the information for the next string out. So for this is on the ATT Wi-Fi network, and then here's all the clients. Here's the list of the clients, how much time they took, their bytes, the number of packets, their data rate, their retry rate. Everything's right there. If you click on a row in the table, no, don't double click.
Sorry.
Go
Going back.
Just click once.
Pounded on the keyboard like a monkey.
It'll show you who that guy is, and so it'll do the kind of like flashlight mode for the row in the table. So if you sort this, let's sort Trent by like sort by bytes. You're pretty much there. You can resort it, and then you're like, okay, well, where was this guy? And you can click it, and you can see where he's at in the tree. And if you double-click that guy, then it'll drill down to that next layer.
What's interesting is this guy has a 37% retry rate. So, and one thing that I really like about this highlight, this flashlight as we call it, is it's going to show you the total amount of bytes that it was sent. Also, the time pie graph is the amount of airtime all of the packets took. So you can see the total number of packets, you can see the total amount of time and bytes. They're all very different things in wireless. And being able to see that, I think what I'm trying to say is this tool is going to be legacy hardware's worst nightmare. Because once you see the amount of airtime that the lower modulation or lower data rates are taking up, all of a sudden you can show someone, you're like, okay, here is all the airtime that your legacy rates are taking. Anyway.
Go spend $90 on a new radio.
Yeah.
It's killing your network.
What are so up here is the details for the center where you're at right now. So that's all the ATT Wi-Fi information and how many clients it has and things. One thing I really like is if you're looking at the sort of comparison between bytes and packets, orange is huge on packets. But it's hardly any bytes, and it's hardly any time at all. And those are all...
Your clear to sends.
Yeah, clear to sends and things like that. So I find it fascinating to look at the comparisons and how the bytes and packets and time all relate to each other.
And what is that on the bottom there? Is that utilization?
So this is your timeline. So right now it's packets over time, because we have packets in view. If you switch to bytes, then this would change to bytes over time.
Mm-hmm.
Does time include free airtime?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's
No.
just the airtime.
Yeah.
What you're, okay.
Yeah, and we thought about that, so it would be sort of like a partial treepy.
Yeah.
And then as your airtime got full, it would fill in.
Yeah.
And we kind of gone back and forth on it.
So, if you look at the pie chart now, we see a lot of purples, and that's your management frames. That is a good sign. It means it means that you have a little bit of inactivity. That's your management frames. It's probably normal. And as we move the time frame to a different point, so I can just drag this bottom section down here to any point in the capture, and it'll quickly filter it all and build the pie charts again. And then you will see how much it changed. And that's because, well, let's find out why it changed. I'm going to click on the SSID that has the highest utilization of bytes, and then I'm going to click on the client who also has the highest utilization of bytes there. And we can see that this guy was doing data, and it was mostly QoS. So we can see see exactly who was doing that at per bytes or anything.
And the nice thing is, I mean, this wasn't even the sample files that we brought with us. This was one that we just captured right beforehand. And it's like, oh, wow, that's so cool. And as you use the software a couple times, the colors really start meaning, yeah.
Ryan,
you look quite.
Looked at doing just the Wireshark, reading it live from the port.
RPCap?
Yeah.
We've looked at it. I mean, like I said, October, we had pencil drawings.
Right.
And, yeah. So that's the one thing I want to talk about after we kind of do a little bit of demo is where do you guys think we need to take it? What features do you think that we need in it? Because we have a pretty big long list of features that we think might be useful, but we're still trying to prioritize the list of what we need to work on next.
Here is the Ekahau. Ekahau has their equipment here. We can actually see each of the clients here, and they are doing, we can actually click on a client and we can see the management probe responses, the association response, and the authentication packets, as well as the data frames per that time frame.
And one thing that's really interesting is you can look at all these guys and they're almost identical in how they're operating.
Quick question from Twitter. Can you drill into the packet itself?
Yeah.
Not
See
yet.
the payload.
What we're working on, the next feature that we're actually going to put in here that we should get in before we release in a couple of weeks is going to be some kind of export to PCAP or push this data to Wireshark, kind of like Pilot does. So basically you can drill down, and then you say, okay, that's the level I want. I need to look at those packets, and you can shoot it off to a better packet tool. There's already good tools out there to actually look at the raw bytes. So we're like, why should we recreate that? We just want to make a new tool to kind of fit into the tool chain, do the quick drill down, and then go look at the raw bytes.
Quick question.
Yeah.
How can we help you guys sell this?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Seriously, I want to help you guys sell this any way I possibly, because this looks like freaking like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
So if you have
Just
any
tell
ideas,
people about it.
6 months from now, you say, we want you guys to do this. Freaking call us up.
Cool. Okay. We will. Trent, let's show a couple of the PS Poll one.
Okay.
And then we'll pull up the screen and start whiteboarding.
Okay.
Hey, do you guys want anything from in-network?
Do we want anything from In-N-Out Burger? Yes.
They want anything from In-N-Out Burger.
Double doubles?
Sure.
Awesome.
Okay, I received this recording from one of our customers, and he was having an issue, and he thought he had a spectrum issue. And what it turned out to be was, well, right now we look at this in terms of bytes, and we can look at it in terms of time, and everything looks normal. The purple, like I said, is your management type frames. But when I go to a different point in the capture, the picture becomes very, very different. So I move here, and we see a lot of orange. And it's very easy to say, okay, well, it's happening on an unknown BSS ID. The client is this MAC address, and all of a sudden we're seeing a lot of PS poll frames, a lot of them. And we can go up to the top window here, and it says there were 34,000 packets sent in about, well, less than a minute at the lowest data rate of 1 megabit per second. So he's taking up a lot of airtime. We can show the airtime here, and it gets smaller. And I have a Y-SPI capture of this, but it looks like a solid red 802.11b curve in the spectrum. And so it wasn't until I saw the curve that I was like, well, let's open up an RPCap and get a recording of this. But essentially the client hardware was failing, and it decided it was just going to do a denial of service attack on the own network. So do it.
Should we go for it? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I know you guys have new backpacks, so we thought we'd help you fill up your backpacks. More stuff. It's like I was saying, you don't have to bribe us. Yeah, you just pass them down.
Take one now.
So see others. I'm bringing them out on the other side too.
Stop.
Whoa, nice save.
One more than this. We stopped too soon.
We stopped too soon. One more.
Here. There we go. One more. We're good to go. So Pat, one more.
Are we good? We have two more if we need it.
I'm sure Matt would like to see. What is it?
Jeremy needs one?
Yeah.
A white tie?
I know this was just on paper. Just a few months.
Yeah.
Potential release dates, potential pricing, how you guys marketing this? Any ideas?
We were going back and forth on whether this was ready to sell. There's a couple things that we want to kind of beta. We've started doing usability testing on everything. We're going to start private beta, and we'll probably release in, I'd say, 3 weeks.
And now you mentioned private beta. You know, having working in a large healthcare environment.
Yeah.
How does somebody sign up for that? I mean, who are you using for private beta?
So if you go to our website, products/IPA, I think it's I-PA. There's a little sign up on the bottom. You can, put in your email address. So does anybody want to tweet that out? Actually, go to the page and tweet it out. That'd be great.
What is the price that we're looking at?
Oh, the price.
IPA.
We're looking at retail at $4.99.
So $4.99. So
$4.99.
when they found out I was coming to Wireless Field Day 2, one of the other engineers in the office says, "Is that MetaGeek company going to be there again?" I said, "Yeah." He told me, "If they give you another Wi-Fi, I want yours."
Oh, do you want to do the demo?
You said no.
Oh yeah.
They just screwed themselves out
Okay.
of the sale.
So you guys can actually install. If you go to MetaGeek Pirate, you can
So there's an SSID called MetaGeek Pirate. You're going to connect to the Sputnik, and our engineers hacked it to serve a web page. It says techday.com, but don't just type in 192.168.1.180. And if you hit that in your URL, if you connect, you can actually download the IPA instead of doing the CD. And it's got a few sample captures for you to download as well. So,
and in your goodie bag was a CD with a license key. So there's an individual license key for all of you for a full license for it.
But that's only if you want to experiment and ask us questions. While Ryan really wants to get your feedback on some of these things. So if you want to open it up and talk about it, then that's great.
Reporting with modular verbiage of IPA.
This is really useful for troubleshooting random stuff.
I'm going to whiteboard. Okay, so we have reporting.
Reporting with modular verbiage. So maybe pulled off of CWNP.
Just techday.com.
And then able to edit it and send it out to the customer.
So have you used the report builder in Challenger Pro?
Yeah.
So similar. Okay.
Same
cool.
idea. And then with that visualization, customers are going to eat it up. They're going to want that.
Hopefully. And we had export.
Export CSV for the remote sensors.
Yeah.
So you can, if you have multiple people that want the same list.
Yeah, that was on Chan Pro.
Can you connect to the
Yep.
Yeah.
I just got it.
And then the other one for IPA, I'd love to see free air.
Yeah. What is not being utilized?
Yep. So is our network 50% busy? Is it overall?
Excuse me.
Yeah. That would help capacity planning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have access to one. But
Our one worry with that was sort of like if there's that one treepie that's not full, are people going to get it? But I think that they would. I think.
Option to, whatever you want to do.
Because I think visually, there's free time that nobody's using. Versus there's no free packets that nobody's using. You know what I mean? And so I think it's okay with the time one to not be full.
64-bit volume license.
Yeah.
For IPA, maybe I missed it. Are there thoughts around allowing it to accept remote packet capture?
Oh yeah, that's one was remote packet capture and live capture.
Real time.
So, question for you on that, like on a remote, you're talking like.
Yeah, like infrastructure. A lot of the solutions out there, you can send it to Wireshark or something like that. I'm thinking for a quick visualization, dump it right to IPA and you can over the network.
Like from a Sputnik.
Do we have Ruckus speak on?
Yeah.
Or from
From an arrow.
Yeah, so
you have to take a packet stream
Well,
then instead of an air
Right.
air
Yeah.
capture, yeah.
right.
Yeah, but there is RPCAP
Yeah.
protocol.
Right.
From the Sputnik especially,
Yep.
so you can get the total view.
Maybe get a 4 gig flash drive we borrow real quick.
What was that? Arrow?
Yeah, I got one
It's
right
only
here.
2.
Oh.
Okay.
The other thing is, especially if you're capturing from multiple different cards,
Yeah.
being able to see roaming of a client from one AP to another AP.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Roman would be, yeah, it's hard.
So we gotta connect to, what was this?
MetaGeek Pirate.
Yeah.
Somebody said they just lost their own video.
Yeah, the feed froze.
Yeah, the video just collapsed and it's coming back up.
Rocky.
Sam, turn your camera off.
64-bit.
Yeah, but the recording is still strong.
Okay. There's also a CD in there if you just want to throw the CD in and install from the CD.
What's that?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why we put it on the Pirate box.
There's 2 sample file. You just go to the web page.
Yeah, is it on the CD too, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just 2. So
7 Pro or 7 Pro?
Another thing that we're working on is displaying retransmits in the actual TreeP.
Yeah, that would be very useful.
Yeah. And that feature should be in before release. So. Any other thoughts, ideas?
When it's loading, you know, if it's a significant amount of time, it will take a few seconds to load, and you have the percentage. So during that, at least for the first-time users, it will be beneficial to kind of, like we discussed yesterday, to introduce the concepts, the circles, and what they mean.
Yeah.
Because there you have like idle time, and it's good, you know, rather than watching the percentage, maybe educate the user.
And maybe a right click for the terminology.
Or even hover tips.
Hover tips, yeah.
Yeah, one thing what we do in the, maybe we should turn this back on too.
Yeah.
In the hub right now, it has a little block of color next to what it's giving its name. So if it's control packet and it's purple because of that, then the block is next to it. If it's green for the data rate, then the green is next to the data rate and not next to the SSID name.
Also, when there's, for example, a lot of green and let's say a lot of clients or APs,
Yeah.
it's hard to distinguish those, so like more clear lines between those, so that I can more clearly see how many.
Uh-huh. And so over here, there is a small legend that has some of the information.
And here is the inspector or the tooltip. So that will come up on every single one of them. But I mean, if you want a little bit more description of that, this right now it's showing a management beacon and it's showing the bytes, the time, and packets and retry rate for that specific slice.
Is it possible to change the information that's being shown in the tooltip to say we wanted to look at specific information on the packets that we were looking at?
Not at the moment.
Like, for instance, what sort of information would you be looking for?
Halo.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe
Just pop open the Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be as good as Fire Sheet.
What about roaming delays?
It takes like the whole idea.
He's got roaming on the list.
Yeah. With roaming, though, how do we show roaming?
Well, you need a multi-channel capture.
Yeah,
Usually
you
people
can
look at it on a
That's
per
cool.
station basis. So this client, how did it roam?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would be a first take as on
Yeah.
an individual client basis, and
You probably need the ability to load
you can show it on a
separate PCAPs, right? One
Yep.
from one adapter, one from another adapter,
Yeah.
even if they're being taken at the same time and combine
Yeah.
the data from those in a way that you could show that a client is hearing here to the
or
other.
don't show it in the pie view. Show it in the bottom of a time view of he was on this AP, and
There you
then
go.
switch to this AP, and that's
Yeah.
like a time scale and then
Yeah.
a line graph. Something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Because then you could drill down to that time segment of when it happened and see the actual, the deauthentication and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking that the graph view that you've got at the top, sorry, I forget what the name for it was.
Treepy?
Treepy. With that situation where you're doing multiple ones, you kind of need multiple sets of treepies
Yeah.
for each packet
Yeah.
capture, right?
Yeah.
and then have the graph down the bottom that is actually showing the roaming
Tying it all
between
in.
the different ones.
And that goes to another idea that we've had, that we've fiddled around with, is reordering the rings. Because if you reordered to put your client in, and then what BSS IDs was that client connected to, what access points, then you would kind of see the roaming as the client switched. Or if you just want to look at like all of my management frames and where were they coming from, you could roll management up and then BSS ID and client after that.
What if you had like fundamentally different views, like infrastructure view and then a client-centric view, like just like a drop-down, and it switches all of the bytes time packets to be either network-centric or client-centric.
Yeah. See if you've got a chatty client.
Yeah.
So how are they currently sorted around the ring?
They're sorted whatever the table's sorted by.
Whatever the table's sorted by.
Yeah, so you could sort by time or bytes or whatever you want, and then it'll reorder.
So Keith on Twitter said, ask about breadcrumbs at the top. It helps to understand where you are.
Oh, yeah. So there's breadcrumbs up here. When you're at home, then it has home over here. As you drill down, then we have the breadcrumbs up there that tell you where you're at, and you can click anywhere to jump back to that layer.
Nice. Sweet. Yeah.
So
it's so clean.
It is. It's so fresh.
MetaGeek. The Steve Jobs of wireless.
That's why I'm wearing my black shirt.
I can't figure
yeah, no, it is.
You just needed a pump.
Let's take a moment.
Yeah. I just don't go for the mock turtleneck. It just, it's my neck.
It's Minnesota.
It's like a little person choking all day.
So.
If I may just show one quick thing, is for the total amount of packets that this this probe request took right here, look at the time in this corner for the amount of time it took of that. You know, almost a quarter of the time for that many packets, and that's because of the 1 megabit per second data rate.
That's a really good visual.
Yeah, it is.
So. And that's why I was saying it is kind of legacy hardware's worst nightmare, because all of a sudden you see how much these may affect the available airtime.
For the overhead view immediately.
Because that information is so hard when you're trying to talk to management and convey a point of, we need to upgrade, right? And you can tell them the stats and the data, and it's like, just don't get it, right? And but you give them a nice visual, and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
That's why the reporting.
This little slice equals this big slice.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
So all the access point manufacturers should be pretty happy with this too, because they could get some rip and replace.
Hope so. Yeah. It helps them, like you said. I mean, it's a good sales tool for them to go in and say.
Patent the approach for something.
Yeah, we're
right?
working on that too. For sure. So. I mean, there's tools out there that go so deep into the packets and everything. I think they do a good job. I mean, you look at Wireshark and just what it can do, but it's really kind of complicated. It's hard to find that needle in the haystack. And I've been to Laura's classes and all about color coding and everything, but it's all you're doing is, you're painting the needle orange, and you still have the whole haystack that you're trying to find the orange needle. And so we're trying to make it a lot easier, just kind of like look at the overall picture, what's going on, how do I drill down, and find the problem. So that's our tool. I think we're getting there. We got feedback?
Are we done? Early?
I think we're done early. That's all our stuff.
I think this deserves a standing ovation.
They love you. They love you.
Yeah, this is good stuff, guys. Even I can understand it. Actually, you know what Matt said? Matt said, "Oh my gosh, I really want to try that out." And he's like a generalist. I mean, I could see him trying that out too. I mean, that's the cool thing. Yeah.
So they have to themselves.
So I don't know if you can even detect it, but can you guys find my crazy access point?
Oh, we forgot the crazy access point.
Is it turned on?
Oh, yeah, let's open that up.
See if you can find it. It's turned on, but there's no thing associated with it, so it's not going to be doing much.
So it won't show up, pull up your Challenger Pro, your DBX, whatever.
Seriously, my Windows VM, I don't have a Windows adapter in here, so I don't get the network table.
There's something very strange at
It
work
won't show up in your network table. Just By the way.
Oh.
No.
Strange things are afoot.
It's legacy.
I unplugged it.
Oh, is that frequency hopper or something?
That's the new server. Okay.
But it should show. It should show up in the spectrum.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's see here.
I've never seen what it looks like.
So when you are looking for frequency hopping, especially with the Wi-Fi, the best way to kind of know if there is something there, whether it's Bluetooth or not, is to turn on your max. So that's one of the display options up at the top. So all those icons going across, you can actually turn off the density view, and I can turn on just the current and the max.
Can you brighten your max?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll change it back to Boise State Blue.
Yeah,
and fill it.
That's good.
Okay.
The reason you have good beer. Boise State.
I don't see it. I mean, usually you would see some sort of flat line with
traffic. So
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's.
Yeah, and I don't know how that frequency hopping stuff. This is like 8 to 11 before there was ABG anything. 8 to 11 frequency hopping.
Yeah. The FHS.
And I'm not sure how it worked, as far as probe and probe response and all that sort of stuff.
I think we should ask Hipster AP. He would know.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, if anybody has a PCMCIA card slot, I've got the
clients
too.
Oh, Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Thank you.
finally, you know, not going to Mac. It finally pays off.
Hey, Jim, it's time for another fountain of wisdom. Even the sun shines on a dog's ass some days.
Good luck finding a driver for that.
Instant rogue.
Wow.
Instant rogue.
Wow.
Wow. So that's a Raytheon 2.4 FHSS 2 megabit.
That is scary.
That is awesome.
This I actually implemented this in my house. I had this going for years, and
wow.
Token ring over?
Back before. Yep, I remember thinking this new B stuff. This is. I remember being mad that it wasn't going to be backwards compatible with my wireless network.
Yeah. See if I get a blue screen.
So.
No wait, it's a PCI Express.
Anybody want it?
Do you have the PCI daughter card that you can
Oh,
No,
fail!
I gave my adapter to it.
Fail! It doesn't work.
I changed my adapter.
She has an express card slot.
There you go.
Not
he got prepared.
Chris.
I love it. I love
Chris, are you downloading the sample capture right now? Totally watch that.
Was it?